Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and it's been 6 years with Raid. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a bit, and I won't even deny it. Like, I've been a part of the journey for only a small portion of time, and I have to be completely honest with you guys that I never thought I would fall in love with such a immersive game that I think would be holding me in the palm of his hand since the moment I really got into it and I sucked my teeth. But I've been asked by Plarium, and we have a special event going on around where we talk about some of our anniversary experiences and talk about some miscellaneous things that have been asked. And they gave us some questions to kind of answer, and I kind of got to go along with them and explain some things and just kind of go from there and let you guys know about like some of those answers and why I think the way I do or why I feel the way I feel. So with that being said, how did it all begin? So for me, if you don't remember, I've been a content creator for about a couple years now, and it's been a very big blessing. Shout out to my ascendant. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this experience. We've been all over the place, whether it's playing various different other games where it's like playing Smite or all these other different things that I've dabbled with over time, even variety-wise. We jumped into it. Well, I've been fortunate enough to be able to be approached by companies, and Plarium is no different, to be able to sponsor the game or be sponsored for the game. And we were able to approach it, and we did it. And at first, I won't even lie, I wasn't even entirely sure if I was locked in on what was Raid. And then lo and behold, as time went by, I got another opportunity. Since it was so successful the first time, I decided to go ahead and do another sponsorship with them again. And lo and behold, it was also successful. But by that point, I gave Raid a really good, honest double tap. Let's take a look at this game and really get into the sauce of it. And lo and behold, I got my first ever big fusion champion completed, which was Helicat at the time, and it opened up clan boss. I got Brogni in addition to that, and that was like everything I needed to start a really good clan boss team, and that just flooded the gates. I got locked in at that point. I was like, all right, I'm in there. I'm a raider, and the mum's the word. But honestly, if it wasn't for those sponsorship opportunities, I may not be playing this game at the time of this recording. I may be doing God knows what else. Who knows? But I will say I've been truly blessed and fortunate to have that experience to open me to this game to be able to do what I do. And I from the Prages to the Stay Ascendants, it's always been a fun, blasting, and just crazy experience, you know? So the next question I got asked was, forge in your image. If you could have a personal champion in Raid, what would they be like? Faction, affinity, rarity, role, and a brief idea of maybe like their kit in a few sentences. So I might get a little splurgy here. To keep it in lieu with my aesthetic, to talk about factions, I think I would either be like a Bannerlords or maybe a Sacred Order champion, because they're very knight, armor, plate, sword, and shield. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's very close to Seafront is how I would envision a champion for myself. But, knight in shining armor type deal, and, always staying ascended, like something like that in terms of being like royalty, knight, rising above it all. That's the kind of person I am, right? So I would say like a Bannerlord or a Sacred Order would probably be right up my alley. Now, with that being said, I won't lie, I like the prestige and this authenticness, or the, basically the style, the way that Shadowkins are designed. I mean, you look at Toshiro and Mikage, or, Jintoro, or like, I'll give you one of my own personal favorites, Mishinaki. They just look super cool, and they have the samurai designed or very Oriental Japanese influence designs that they have with them, and I think that goes right up my alley too. So maybe that could be another one for me. Now, in terms of what the champion would be, obviously I would think myself to be of the quality of a mythic. In terms of affinity, I would say I'm going to do something a little different. I've always would say my champion pool has always leaned heavy into blue, and then maybe secondarily green, with a little bit more spicing now of variety. But I would say one of the affinities that I always had like the weakest affinity or the weakest approach into, and I still feel like that, would be like champions that are force affinity, believe it or not. I got a very small selection of good ones here and there, but I would like a really, really OP force champion, like a Galathier, and, have like kind of a dominant state there. Now, I think for me, I have learned to play I can play either offensively or defensively, like in a support utility role. And I think I'm sounding a lot like Seafront here, but I think one really like burst potential side, damage, maybe lockdown-y approach to my base form. And my second form is more about control. Maybe something around the lines of like lockout or CC or provoking or something around those lines to really kind of, control the terrain of a fight. And I feel like something like that could be really, really cool. I think for me, I definitely want some ignore percent in my builds, my abilities, so I want them to pack a punch, I'd even go so far to say, so if I get some overkill, maybe some surplus damage, those tend to be pretty busted themselves. But in terms of like support utility, maybe maybe for every little bit of damage I do, or maybe for every buff I'm able to provide as a part of my utility side, I give a little bit of healing on top of that. That could be really, really cool. I do feel like our supports, although we have some really dominant ones like Galathier, the choice opportunity is a little bit more on the limited side. So maybe something like that could be a little bit more of like he's a good pack-a-punch, and he's got a nice little bit of support, maybe complementary support, maybe not a full-on support, but a complementary support, and that could be pretty cool. That's what I would say I would look for if I wanted to be that, you know? Hindsight, though, for our number 3 question is, hindsight is 2020. What's a champion you misjudged the most on release, and someone you didn't expect much from, but they turned out to be pretty great? I would say that's a very open-ended question. It was very, very hard. I think I have 2 that I'm going to go into mind and talk about. One that's kind of like had a little bit of a love added to him, like he got buffed, and one that kind of came out the gate pretty strong, who ended up getting nerfed, believe it or not. So I'm going to start with Emic. I went for Emic because it was a Void fusion champion, one of the more harder ones, believe it or not, as a part of like the hybrid fusions that we end up having, and that's one of the rarest ones we've had. But it ended up turning to be something that packed way more of a punch than I expected. I was looking at like originally just being a clan boss oriented focused champion, and then lo and behold, with like the taunt aspect and the cooldown reset with the A2, that turned into so much more, you know, Hydra teams being built that were super busted. And then going further than that, being able to provide teams that I eventually adopted and built for other people, including myself, with Iron Twins, Shoguns, and it was crazy how we were getting more and more out of that champion as time went by. Now, I did get him, so I didn't completely neglect it, but I'm not gonna lie, I had a very nonchalant approach. It's like, oh man, I'm already kind of past the whole clan boss experience. Maybe we have him as like some kind of pseudo taunt champion to protect our team for PvP, for memes. This is during the time periods where buff strips and all that weren't as prevalent or present as they are now. But something around those lines I thought would be pretty interesting. And lo and behold, he kind of shined out. Now, my second one, this is kind of a little extra bonus here, that I did not think ended up turning out to be a really, really substantial champion. I'm actually showing a lot more and more value of him, is Affidus. You know, yes, you may have your ninjas, and they may pack just as much of a punch, but Affidus has been a champion that I never expected to get as much value as I have with him, particularly in like Chimera lately, especially with this buff. He's been offering more and more, and what was looked upon as like a mediocre kit in terms of not having too much to offer ended up turning to being something that offered a lot. You know, his increased defense is important for one of the Lion trials inside Chimera, which is something I use him to get one up on Ninja, or you know, the fact that his base form comes with a little bit of damage scaling along with really good HP burns. He veils himself. He also does increase attack, decrease defense. There's a lot there that adds so much elements, and I really think that this is a very strong powerhouse for something like Chimera. Now, is that the only place he's going to be useful for? I think there may be some other caveats and some more other places where he could shine, but that is where I'd say I found my home with him, and I've been surprised more and more that I've been able to get some really, really cool scores with him. I mean, 17 plus trials. I mean, who can scoff for that? And I got in comparison to some of my counterparts, some of my clannies, shout out to my mad boys, my count's on the growing side, you know? And I would say it's gotten better. It's gotten better. So, with that being said, unpopular take, my number 4. It's time to reveal the rate hill you'll die on. I'm going to say this as easily as possible. All mythics are good, but you got to find the right place to shine. So you got to give them some time, and I think that's something that's kind of a little bit of a misnomer. There are some champions that I feel like like mythics that are due for some upgrades, some buffs, some updates that I think could be improved upon. But I do think overall you just got to find the place for them, and that takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of, you know what, get into the champion and really learn them, and you may see something pretty valuable. Now, obviously, I'm still down for more buffs for some champions to really make them shine, but I think there's always a place for something if you really look deep enough. So, with that being said, that's my unpopular take. Now, number 5, the one that got away. Looking back on the 6 years of Raid, was there a champion or an event you missed, either intentionally or accidentally, that you still regret? My answer is Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts for me, I was trying, but lo and behold, I couldn't get the Cheshire, I couldn't get the other champions, and that ended up turning into something that I wasn't expecting. I really think she's a great champion. I was unfortunate to not be able to get the entire, you know, roster or get her along the way for the Alice in Wonderland experience. She's still in the pool, so there's still hope, but that's one of the ones I was really looking for and I couldn't get my hands on, so kind of unfortunate, but we take those. And then, of course, my proudest moment on Raid. Over the years, what's been your biggest achievement in Raid and challenge you overcame, a major milestone or a goal you're most proud of? I think for me, I'm just going to kind of showcase this as a reference point if I can find the screenshot. But one of the things that my clan and I am particularly very excited for is PvP. And in addition to that, being able to perform very, very well is something that I try to aspire to do on a regular basis. And lo and behold, if I can find the screenshot, I believe it was this one. Although the screenshots are not fully robust, and I recommend that Plarium gets into creating an official leaderboard for us to be able to see. I ended up placing my very best experience at rank 20. That's one of my highest, and that's my current personal best for platinum pushing. And I would love to be able to go even further, but that's something that I'm very proud of because, you know, we're playing against other very, very challenging, very, you know, hard to beat teams. And for mine to still hold up despite, you know, being perfectly imperfect. I've done pretty well. So you can see me right there. I'm currently, it shows that I'm at number 22, but I ended up placing at 20, well, even though the screenshot's a little, you know, a little off there. But with that being said, you guys gotta let me know how y'all feel about this. Is this one of those experiences that you guys would say over the years you feel very grateful for? I think I'll end mine's off with very, very positive experiences. I've been blessed to have a really dope community. You guys that are watching me, I really appreciate you. I love you guys. And of course, the CCs and everybody else that's a part of this community. It's been super dope. It's been super welcoming, and it feels like home. I feel like that's something I'll never take for granted. Anyways, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, always remember, stay ascending.